Hi, everybody. How are you doing? Somebody let me know in the chat room if you're hearing me okay. Um, had a little bit of a snafu with the connection. It's been that kind of day today. And today's going to be a little bit of a shorter edition of Moohead Radio just because I am like totally racked with back and spinal issues today that are just wiping my ass out. But I still have some things to say. The name of the program today is What Happened? And of course, a lot happened. That's just the way things work. And we've got the Cavaliers to start out with. And Stephen was in the studio joining me. And I told him to stay put. And when I came back, he was gone. So go figure. But I'm prepared to go through this and do what I got to do. First, what happened with the Cavaliers? I think that you're going to run into a situation where the media is going to make a big fucking deal out of something. And there is some stuff that you can take a look at after having watched that game, and some things that just from an analytical perspective, the Cleveland Cavaliers will have to clean up. I have absolutely no doubt that they will. Their coach is a very good coach, and the players didn't execute certain prime functions that they needed to. However, when you're up by 13 at the half and you come out and you are in a sleepwalk, these are things that can happen. The main thing of what happened in the Cavaliers games, a lot of people are pointing out that Donovan Mitchell is 3 for 21 in his last 3 games. No doubt he's having a shooting drought right now. And wide open looks, and people are daring him, and that makes it harder for him to penetrate on the dribble, and he's throwing up some pretty desperate shots when he comes into the paint. That normally would not be the case if his three-point shot or perimeter shot was falling. But it's not right now, and I'm not exactly sure why. They did rest him for a day, and when he came back, it was no different than it was before they rested him. He's just had a rough patch here. And with the news that Ty Jerome was not going to play due to illness, it makes me wonder also if the flu is finding its way back onto the Cavaliers roster, which would not surprise me one bit because, quite honestly, COVID right now and flu in that part of the country, in Ohio and Pennsylvania, and in that greater area, is going up dramatically. And when one player catches something, they all catch it. And we're going to find out when we have to come back and play the Pacers again in Indianapolis, who's going to be sick for that game. It's going to be very interesting, but I have a feeling that had something to do with what is happening. But the main thing that happened was a coaching decision made by the Indiana Pacers at halftime that turned out to be right on the money. And it is what future opponents of the Cavaliers are going to do to them. So when somebody finally finds a chink in the armor, that's what people are going to attack. And in this case, it was the full court press. The Cavaliers could not handle it. Let's examine a few reasons why. One, they weren't expecting it, obviously. Second of all, the people that they were playing, Darius Garland's primary ball handler and Donovan Mitchell, but they weren't set up and seemingly thinking straight as far as attacking that. Well, when somebody puts a full court press on you and you start making sideways short passes, they're all going to be picked off and you're going to end up with turnovers. And that's what happened during the whole run for the Indiana Pacers. And the Cavaliers never seemed to figure out that the full court press could be beaten and thwarted in a certain way. But we did find out a few things. Without Ty Jerome, our secondary ball handler, it made it more difficult. What we also realized is that Max Strus can't handle the basketball, and I think we pretty well knew that from the beginning. Evan Mobley, we don't want him bringing up the ball. It's one thing if you want him to bring the ball up the court because it's part of an offensive set, but obviously it was way beyond that. The Cavaliers just weren't able to get it over the midcourt line. They were being swarmed. They were throwing the ball in short over the baseline and then trying to make a longer pass, which was invariably intercepted and immediately put them in a outnumbered situation that resulted in layups and dunks. That's the obvious thing of what happened. And Karis LeVert is not a great ball handler either. These guys dribble high, and when you dribble high and you're long-limbed, it can be a little bit of a trick. And I think the Cavaliers just got, what do they say? The emperor wears no clothes. And I think in this instance, they just were not at all prepared to do what they needed to do to break the press. The other thing was that they just weren't shooting for shit. I think it's kind of like one of those things that when things happen, it happens all at once. Hi, Steven. How you doing?
Doing all right. Mr. Moo, to sum it up best, 82 games. That's just the 5th loss of the season. You're still 33-5. I think it was one of those games where they just were winning so much. They were just catwalking it. They were sleepwalking at halftime. And Pacers are on a 4 or 5 game winning streak. I don't know if anybody's aware of that, but they are moving up in the Eastern Conference. I think they're 6 or 5 right now. So it's just one of those games where, you just caught sleeping on your opponent, and that's what happens. Learn a lesson.
I think that's part of it, but I think that there is also the component of not knowing how to handle a press like that. And it's something they need to work on because, again, monkey see, monkey do. When an organization shows that they can't do something as well as they do other things, that's what teams are going to throw at them. And there is a smart way of handling it, and it actually would play right into the Cavaliers' hands. The problem is, even if they would have attacked it the way they normally would attack it if they were breaking the press, which would be wide open perimeter shots and the possibility of points and bunches, which they've done all year, nobody could hit 3-point shots to save their soul. And wide open, there was a wide open shot that Sam Merrill missed from the corner that if he had made that would have brought the Cavaliers back into like 4 points from the lead, but missed it. I mean, there was nobody within like 8 to 10 feet of him. And he stopped, paused, shot it, and missed it. Everything was not going in. Everyone chose the same day to have trouble shooting. And part of me just wonders if the Ty Jerome illness is the flu, and if we're going to start seeing illnesses popping up on the roster, and during this important road trip, if we're going to see shortages as far as players are concerned because of it, because it happened earlier this year as well. So that's, but as far as what happened from a coaching perspective, there's nothing that Kenny Atkinson can do once they're in the situation except point out what's happening. If the players don't have an attack plan, if they're, it's not like the coach can go out and make the passes for them. They just lost their focus. And 33-5, the only people who are really creating and fomenting doubt are the national media, because that's what they want to do, and that's what they do for a living. And also the Cleveland sports fans, who are the biggest bunch of assholes that I've ever read in my life. And I honestly, I think that one of the reasons why I don't get involved with social media, why I've not promoted this podcast, because the way to get viewers is to do exactly what they're doing. I mean, you wipe your ass and you hold it in front of a camera and say, see, this is my shit. And that's the way you promote it. I won't do that. I mean, that's beneath me. It is the audience. I don't give a shit about the size of the audience. I'm going to say what I think. What I think may be right and it may be wrong. But damn it, I'm not going to sit there and prostitute myself that way.
Well, to be fair, Moo, the Cavs are 20-2 at home, 13-3 on the road.
Right.
That's pretty damn impressive. I think we both agree with that. And a 5.5 game lead on any team closest to them.
Well, that 5.5 game lead is going to go quick on this road trip if there's illness running through the locker room. That I can tell you. But I don't worry. Again, a game against the Pacers, it isn't going to wipe me out. And the game that they needed to play large in with the cameras on and the light bright, they did very well against the Thunder. And we've got the Thunder coming up, and we could get our asses handed to us in Oklahoma City if we're not at full strength. And that is yet to be seen. But other than that, I don't think anybody would have told you that the Cavaliers would have the best record in basketball, or it would be the number one record in the East and up by 5.5 games at this point of the season. I think still the betting favorites will continue to be the Celtics because they've been there and they've done that. And that's the other message in all of this is that, when you have proven that you can do it, then you can walk the walk and talk the talk. But until you prove that you can do it, and that's, I just say, shut up and win a championship. That's the way it works.
Well, Moo, I mean, it's just a learning lesson, for the Cavs. They're still a young team, but you're all right. Your next 5 out of 6 games are on the road. You go at Indiana, team y'all just lost to. Now you go at Indiana, you go at OKC, and you go at Minnesota. Then you host the Suns, who are kind of 50-50. And then you go at Houston, and then you go at Philadelphia, who seem to be kind of turning it around. So, yeah, you got some tough opponents ahead of you.
Well, the East wasn't going to continue to be a lost cause. It has started out to be. I mean, there are teams that have had horrendous injuries and teams that have lost their star players.
Yeah. Look at the Mavericks. Luka Doncic and Kyrie are both out, and they're barely hovering, barely hanging on.
That's right. And, but things even out over time. And I feel good about the team that we have, and I feel good about the attitude and the vibe that's in the locker room. And, we'll see how they come out back to back with the Pacers and see what they throw out there that's different, what energy they put in that they didn't put in the first game. And they're playing a hot team that's won 6 in a row, and now they're going to be shooting for a 7th on their home floor. That's, going to happen. And then you have the back-to-backs. We got to go from there. We got to go to Oklahoma City and play them on short notice.
2 games in 3 nights.
Because they're looking for blood after what the Cavaliers did to them on the national television front.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think Oklahoma City is a good team. And I think the Pacers suck donkey dick. I don't think they're that good a team. I think that it wasn't that they played an outstanding offensive game. They weren't shooting well at all in the first half of the game. They didn't even have Halliburton in the second half because he was nursing a hamstring. And so it wasn't that they played a great game. It's that the Cavaliers just couldn't size up to that one strategy, and they could not get adjusted. So, we've seen Kenny call timeouts at propitious moments in games, and the team comes out and rallies. It just didn't happen yesterday.
Who doesn't know when Donovan Mitchell's struggling the way he is? I mean, 3 for 21. Ouch. That's
nobody would, again, the notion of, we got 4 all-stars and we can cover. We can't cover for Donovan Mitchell's 24, 25 points night after night. No. We can on a given night. Absolutely. But, he's a big part of the team offensively, and he'll get his act together. History says that he'll have his act together, unless there's something that we don't know about. But it's not that anything looked wrong with his shot. It just wasn't going in. And that's it just, and he's been around the league long enough, and I'm sure he's gone through this before, and he'll go through it again, and he'll come through it again, and he will do what he needs to do to correct it and right the ship. I'm
do you
sure
think do you think the Cavs are suffering from live by the 3, die by the 3? Shots just weren't going in. Maybe they should start driving it in more.
Well, I think in this particular game, in the second half of the game, they just looked like they were just moving at half speed. They just, I mean, it's
no energy.
And I'm wondering when the next injury list comes out, how many people are sick, because they just look like they were slow. I mean, that's what it looked like to me. And when people are missing shots, fatigue can be as good a reason as any. And for everybody to have the same problem the same day, knowing that the team is very tight and hangs out together, I don't believe that Ty Jerome was somewhere else quarantining. I'm quite sure that this is how it starts. And the other thing is the Indiana players, if they were, chatting it up with the Cavalier players prior to the game or whatever, they're going to be sick too. And it's going to spread all over the league. This is what happened with COVID. We know that this season is the season for flu and cold.
No, I just got off the flu. I had the flu for about a month and a half, and I still have remnants of it. I think it might have even been COVID. I just didn't go get tested. But there was some guys that I work with at the county, and they had the flu for a month, 6 weeks. So it's been going around. So it wouldn't shock me.
Now, what happened? I'm done with the Cavaliers because I'm not going to over focus on this.
Sounds good.
What happened in other sports? All right. What happened to Baker Mayfield? Because he seems to always be on the minds of these faggoty ass Cleveland Browns alleged fans who want him to come back. What happened to Baker? Well, the answer is simple. He lost again early in the playoffs. Now, was it his fault? Yes, partially because of a fumble that should never have happened deep into territory in a close game that allowed the Commanders to go in and take the lead. The Buccaneers did kick a field goal to tie it, but Baker didn't do nothing as far as the red zone to get them in for a touchdown as opposed to a field goal. And Baker only threw the ball 18 times, and the entire team only had 44 snaps the entire fucking game. The Commanders had 69 snaps.
Wow.
All right. Now, why does that happen? And I've had people rain down holy hell on me on Twitter saying, but there's a reason. There's a reason. And it's hard to understand them with Baker's dick in their mouths. But I will say this. Yeah, 44 plays from scrimmage isn't going to cut it. And there were reasons for that. But one of them is they weren't getting first downs. Hello, anybody home? I mean, if you're not, they ran plays and had an average of less than 6 snaps per possession. You know how many 3 and outs that equates to?
A lot.
If you can't move the chains, and at least the Commanders, who barely won the game,
Not to mention they gave up 6 points. Washington went for it twice on the goal line on 4th down and didn't convert.
And that's
almost
my
cost them
other
the game.
What happened? And the answer is when you decide to run east and west, and I don't understand it. And the same thing, Penn State, the same fucking thing. When you get the ball down on the 2 fucking yard line, if you can't run at somebody and blow them off the line and get that important touchdown, then you suck. And if you're a coach or an offensive coordinator and you call an east-west play when you're on the 2 yard line and you get nailed for a 6-yard loss or an 8 or 10 yard loss, like happened to Penn State, and if you're James Franklin and when you play any top-rated team, you're 4-20 in your loser career, and you call that play?
Yeah.
And the same thing happened to the Commanders, who were damn lucky to win the game because they put the hands in rookie quarterback. And I understand we have faith in Jaden Daniels. And, he's a rookie quarterback. And one he spiked into the ground. And another one went nowhere near somebody. And, but they still managed to win the game. Now, that's the other what happened. Every kicker I'm seeing came from the Cleveland Browns. I don't know if you're noticing this, but in yesterday's game, it was Zane Gonzalez.
Yeah.
We have seen every kicker in the league, I swear to fucking God. I mean, it's like every time I turn on the TV, it's like, oh,
He's
we
like
used to
Cage
have him.
York, you know.
Yeah, it's like, geez. Well, I don't know if you were watching the TV closely enough. Zane Gonzalez, when he's not even kicking into the net, they did what they were supposed to do. They ran the clock down to zippity-doo-dah, 3 seconds on the clock, and set up, and they even lost 4 yards on the play before, which I wanted to shoot. Why not just take a knee and lose 1 yard? Why would you snap the ball, take 3 steps back, and then drop to the ground? I'm trying to figure all of this out.
Yeah.
I mean, these people shouldn't have fucking jobs. I'm serious. So, again, what it amounts to is the kicker is not kicking into the practice net because he knows it's his turn. He's got to come out. And he proceeded to put his helmet on, take it off, put it on, take it off, put it on, take it off. I counted 8 fucking times going like this. And then putting the helmet half on, and what in the fuck is that? Some kind of a goddamn nervous habit? Holy cannoli. He looked like a madman. Now I almost hung myself there. And I'm already well hung. So he comes out onto the field, staggers after putting his fucking helmet on so many times, trying to make his hair feel right. And his hair was this long. I mean, it was like this nervous affectation. And it's like, oh my God, he is going to fuck this up. And that was as shaky a kick as you're going to get. He just, he flew the thing off to the right. He sliced it. And the thing starts taking a right-hand turn and doink, it hits the goalpost and it goes through. And there was only one person on the field who understands and understood what it meant. And that's Baker Mayfield, who had this glimmer of hope when he heard doink, only to find the ball had gone through, and you're still in Cleveland. Go get a blowjob in the back of your SUV over at the Cheesecake Factory, you fucking loser. The fact of the matter is that bad things will always happen to you. And you know why? Because you're still the same guy. Everyone was saying, yo, did you see Baker scramble up the middle and take on those tacklers and he ran right through them? It's like, yeah, that's exactly what separated his shoulder in Cleveland. He loses his mind at the wrong time. He doesn't have self-control.
So, does Jimmy Haslam have that voodoo doll and he's like poking those kickers?
It's just a weakness of character. He's a Ritalin child. He gets himself all pumped up and he wants to be George of the Jungle and he wants to pound his chest. He's not thinking about what would happen. The next time he does it, he'll be out for the rest of the season and he'll fuck his team over. He's more in it for himself than he is for his team. That is stupid. There was no reason for him to do that, especially knowing what we know in Cleveland, because bad things happened. And then he found out sitting on the bench at the end while his head was bowed, because he knows that he fumbled the goddamn reverse play that was goofy call to begin with, and didn't fall on the ball, and that was the deciding measure of the game, really, that allowed the Commanders, who weren't exactly knocking the world dead, to get the necessary touchdown, and to get the points that they needed to get ahead. In the end, let's be honest, the Commanders and the Buccaneers aren't very good. I mean, let's be honest and further about what happened. The Texans and the Chargers? Are you for real? I mean, you throw 4 interceptions. And you don't think that having that cuckoo Harbaugh on the sidelines doesn't have something to do with it? Oh, I'm a former quarterback, and I'm going to put all kinds of shit in your head because I'm a sick motherfucker up here. I mean, Herbert is not going to be able to withstand the noise coming from that head coach. And he threw so few picks during the season that it happened at a time when it happened. Boy, it makes you scratch your head.
He threw more picks in the game than I think he did all year.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
3 up to that point, 4 in the game.
Well, that's
so it goes.
And to give credit, I know the Texans won, but I know our defense kind of locked in, but I feel like offensively we're still kind of, we still have our struggles. We lose the number 1 receiver, you lose the number 3 in Dell, you lose Diggs. That doesn't help.
Nope. And D'Amico Ryan as your head coach doesn't help either because he's a defensive coach.
Fair enough.
I mean, let's be honest about it. He wouldn't know offense if it bit him in the ass. And, the thing that saved Houston, it wasn't C.J. Stroud that saved Houston. It's 4 interceptions. It was the sheer number of turnovers and Joe Mixon running for over 100 yards. The team had 168 yards rushing to back up, a 282-yard by C.J. Stroud performance. But Stroud only had a 90 rating. It wasn't like he blew the thing, tore the roof off the sucker.
No.
But yeah, when you get that many turnovers, you're not going to lose at home. So the Texans, once again, they get an easy home opponent like they did last year in the Browns with Joe Flacco, who is 72 years old. And the Texans, once again, at home, are able to beat a team that really isn't very good. All right.
And Justin Herbert forced a lot of his throws too. Like he was forced into double coverage a couple of times. I said, wow, he's just trying to gun it in there. He just happened to get lucky on that one touchdown that he as he got hit, he just barely got it off. Like I said, I don't know if it's a lack of receivers the Chargers have. They did lose Keenan Allen. I know it's Mike Williams. I know we were up there in age and had miles on our legs, injury prone. But I know the Chargers are going to definitely need some receivers going to offseason. So.
Yeah, and Rick really said it better than I could. Yeah. In your head, in your hand, zombie. This guy is a kook. Jim Harbaugh.
One flew off the cuckoo's nest with Jack Nicholson.
Yeah, he's goofy. So then you have the Ravens and the Steelers. Did anybody think that the Steelers were worth a shit? We beat them this year. And I mean, we couldn't have beaten a little old lady, and we beat the Steelers. Who in the hell are they? I mean, and every year it's the same thing. Well, Mike Tomlin his job's in trouble, and they go, "We're bringing him back one more." The things that we see in common. All right, you gotta have a quarterback. You got to put up with some young quarterbacks. Jaden Daniels got through, and he's learning what the postseason is like and the pressure and the expectations that are on you. All right. He got through. Baker Mayfield at 30 still can't get through. All right. I think it's safe to say that Baker Mayfield is not only not that good a quarterback, he's not going to win a Super Bowl. That team staggers to around a 500 record every season. That's all the better they are. And the Commanders, quite honestly, got off to that really wicked hot start. But since then, Jaden Daniels has kind of come down to earth. So that's partially what happened there. But now with the Steelers and the Ravens were a football team, and the Steelers are 0-5 to end the season, and they were flat out of gas, and we knew.
Yep.
But how does the national press have to phrase this? Because the game was uninspiring, to say the least. It was just uninspiring. Here's the first line of the AP account, Associated Press. Lamar Jackson handed off to Derrick Henry, then slid out to the left as if he still had the ball. A couple linebackers shifted into Jackson's path, leaving the middle wide open for Henry to run for a 44-yard touchdown. In other words, It wasn't Derrick Henry. It was Lamar Jackson. All he has to do is fart, and it's Beethoven. He's not good. He's overrated. When he has to play a real fucking team, he will lose again. Because it's not like the Steelers didn't even have any fight in them at all. Russell Wilson, I mean, you want to talk about somebody who looks like they aged overnight, man. He didn't go from 30. He skipped 35 and went right to 40. I mean, he just didn't look, and that's the way they've looked in their last 5 games. It's, and again, if you're looking just at the box score of the damn game, it's not like, I mean, Russell Wilson averaging 9 yards of completion. He was, it wasn't that his performance was hideous from a numerical perspective, but the team only ran for 29 yards. That's not who they are or who they want to be. But the Steelers without an offensive line, like a waste of time. I mean, and idiot Tomlin, what's he going to do? He's going to say, I'm going to just go ahead and keep running it up the middle and just get blown up because he has no imagination.
How do the Steelers go 8-2, 9-2 every year, and then they end up like 10-7 or 9-8? And it's like, dude.
Yeah, it really went down.
They lost 5 games going into that. Well, if you include the playoff game, they've lost 5 in a row at the end of the season.
Yeah, I mean, and look at the Ravens. They ran, this is unbelievable, for 299 yards. I mean, against the Steelers, and the Steelers is like, oh, we got TJ Watt, and it's like, why don't you blow me? No, he's our guy, Watt's our guy. He's the best. He's better than Myles Garrett. Oh, he's the best. Where was he? I saw one play where they ran over and over again where they would just fake the handoff, and Watt was trying to make a big play to, basically to whack off and satisfy himself. And Lamar Jackson would just run right past him.
All right.
Hold on to the ball there. And he was biting like the fish on the American sportsman programs in the 1970s. Right down on a hook every time. And he kept doing it because, again, I'm Mr. MVP and I'm who I am and I'm a Steeler. Right. And who gives a shit? I mean, Lamar Jackson is fast as hell. He's athletic as hell. But until he proves to me that he can win a credible football game with his arm, I don't want to hear shit about him. I don't want to hear shit because what he does is he went 16 of 21, an average of 8 yards per pass completion. And he was clean, no interceptions. You didn't have to worry about that. They ran for fucking 300 yards. So what the hell did he have to do? And the answer is really nothing. And he himself ran for 81 yards and just keep him off balance. No receiver caught more than 3 passes except for running back Justice Hill. I mean, there was nothing in the game plan that would be challenging for any quarterback. They played a sissy team in the first week of the playoffs, a team that was already going downhill faster, than a truck down a high-grade hill, and they took advantage of it. Good for them. And they did a great job of stopping whatever remnants of a running game that the Steelers might have thought at one time that they had. But I mean, it's incredible. Najee Harris, 6 carries for 17 yards. You know, they only had 11 rushes for 29 yards. They didn't even try. They didn't even try.
Wow.
Ask Mike Tomlin. He's the one who says, we're the ones who are going to set the standard. And we're the ones who are going to set the environment. And we're going to show that we're the tough guys. And then when it comes down to the playoffs, his dick shrivels up. Well, so what happened? Mike Tomlin happened. Russell Wilson happened. And they have a quarterback problem, and Justin Fields isn't the answer, or else he would have been earlier this year.
Well, Moo, you know what they call Mike Tomlin? They call him mediocre Mike in Pittsburgh.
Well, and that's, but again, people say, well, he makes the playoffs. It's like, do you know something? If all these complaining Browns fans kept making it to the playoffs and losing in the first round, they lost to Baker Mayfield, for Christ's sake, in the first round. We're going to hold on to Ben Roethlisberger. We're going to hold on to Russell Wilson. We're going to, they've been scrambling for quarterbacks. Oh, Mason Rudolph, Duck Devlin.
Rudolph, I think, is with Tennessee now, isn't he? He's with the Titans.
I mean, they've been scrambling for a quarterback for too many goddamn years. And they keep thinking they have the answer for some reason because they wouldn't know a good quarterback. I mean, by the time the Browns played Ben, Big Ben was like Big Ben. He was motionless. He might as well have had, Lou Gehrig's disease. The guy couldn't move. And it was so bad, they snapped the first one over his head, and he didn't even try to jump to get it. And then, to make it worse, he didn't even try to dive in the end zone to recover it for a safety. Wow. He just went back and went, oh, no, I'm Ben Roethlisberger. I rape women, but God, I'm not allowed to be touched by anyone. So they've been having this problem for ages, and I'm not impressed with the Ravens. Again, there are teams that will make this interesting. It was like watching the Broncos. Why were the Broncos in the playoffs? Somebody had to be there, but they suck.
Yeah. They say that Kansas City tanked that game because they didn't want to see the Bengals in there. But, I mean, I get it. The Bengals won their last 5 games, but they were against struggling teams, too, to be fair.
It's not like Joe Burrow has come through in the playoffs either.
No.
But take a look at the one thing that's in common. Jaden Daniels was a celebrated rookie quarterback, and he barely got through. All right. Tampa has settled for 9-7 or 10-7 or whatever, 9-8 Baker Mayfield. All right. The Texans have CJ Stroud, who started out like a house on fire last year and has come back to reality this year. And we'll see what next year brings for him. I'm not willing to prognosticate at this point because, 2 years is 2 years. And that, but again, the quarterback deficient teams in this, Herbert, listening to the cuckoo coach on the sidelines, has the worst game that you can imagine. So bad quarterback play costs them the game directly. Then you keep going, and then you have the Broncos. I mean, Bo Nix beat the Browns because, honestly, your grandmother, who's been dead for like a century, could have beaten the Browns. All right.
Right.
But there you have it. Bo Nix, he's got a big arm. He doesn't know where in the fuck it's going when he throws it short and intermediate. Ball's likely to sail anywhere. He makes one big play to start out the game, and it's what he did against the Browns. The difference was the Browns couldn't score. The Browns had no offense to threaten them with. He made that one big play against the Browns, but the Bills didn't have any trouble moving the ball up and down the floor, the field. That's for damn sure. So I don't know. So again, quarterback deficiency. Bo Nix is not a franchise quarterback. No, then you have the Eagles and the Packers, and it's like Jordan Love. You're gonna rest all of your hopes. He ain't Brett Favre, and he ain't Aaron Rodgers. All right. Jordan Love is above average, but he's not going to get you deep. Every one of these games have the same, what happened? And it's like your quarterback isn't up to the standard of the other team. And Jalen Hurts, everybody hurts sometimes. I mean, I'm trying to figure out what Jalen Hurts is because scoring 22 points like he did, they said, well, he's coming off an injury and this and that, but he hasn't looked like the star quarterback that they had predicted. And Eagles fans who hate Santa Claus, Eagles fans are not real happy with Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, I know Eagles were up 10-0 at halftime, but the game was real slow. Like I watched that entire game. It was
really tedious.
Depressing to watch, and like the 22-10 doesn't even indicate how boring the game was.
But so now tonight we have glory hallelujah. We've got the Minnesota Vikings, Tony's team, and you got the LA Rams. Now, the LA Rams were only 10-7. Minnesota was 14-3, but that big forehead on Sam Darnold, is he going to come through? Are you going to bet your paycheck on Sam Darnold? Now, I mean, Goff is at least a commodity that we know. He may not be the strongest arm guy, but he's accurate.
I'm going to take the experienced quarterback in Matthew Stafford for 300, Alex. I got the Rams to win tonight. They have been playing phenomenal towards the end of the stretch. Their defense has been stepping up. They've been pounding the rock.
I said Goff. Plays. I'm thinking old.
Matthew Stafford is playing. I mean, that team all around on both sides of the ball has played an amazing second half, and I think the Rams are a sleeper team that nobody's talking about.
And again, having been there and done that, and it's not that I think it's a great story that Sam Darnold has rescued his career after playing for some awfully bad football teams. But is the interception bug going to come back on him? Because that's what he was famous for, was turnover city. And it hasn't happened. He's been having big yardage games, but the pressure is going to be on. This is the playoffs, one and done. And again, even though the Vikings are 14-3, and the Rams are 10-7, you kind of look at it and you say, for some reason, I think it's going to be harder for the Vikings than maybe we think. I don't know.
The Rams played very bad football at the very beginning of the year. I think they had a losing record. They were 3rd or 4th in the West, and they've been winning the majority of their games down the stretch. It's not about how you start, but about how you finish. The Giants won at 9-7 in 2007 and 2011.
Right.
I'm wondering if the Rams are in the right spot and hot on fire at the right time. They can go into Lincoln Financial Field and win. They can go into Ford Field and win. They can win a home game against the Vikings. If any, I think they're the sleeper, the dark horse of the playoffs.
And, again, we don't have to wait long for that. Now, I already basically said what happened with Notre Dame and Penn State. I mean, James Franklin got in the way. And, and again, it always comes down to the same kinds of stuff. And Notre Dame, I don't like the program. I think it's great for publicity in the first year of the playoffs that this would happen this way, and what a game, and yada, yada, yada. But, you look at a team like Penn State, and you're, again, putting your hopes on Drew Aller.
Yeah.
And there were people who were actually, before this game, the same dumbass Cleveland Browns fans, if he has a good game, we should pick him. So what do you pick your nose? You're stupid enough to do that in public. Just jam your finger up your nostril. That's stupid. And you saw what happened. And in the Ohio State game, I mean, you saw, it's like, you let a screen pass do to you what happened to the Ohio
touchdown. Throw our defense off.
Oh,
I mean, and plus you guys had some blocks too that helped, pave the way. But 75-yard touchdown, that was really impressive right there.
I mean, it's like, well, they're not going to throw the goddamn screen because there just isn't time. This is just a throwaway play. There was nobody really on that side of the field, particularly.
We were blitzing, is what it was. We set the kitchen sink, and Howard just dipped it off right at the last second. And Henderson had some lead blocks. I think you had like a tight end and one of your offensive linemen paved a little, clear, and there was just no one there, and just 75 yards. Boom! It was a nice play.
And and then the big play by Sawyer, and and again, when you have the ball down on the end of the field and your play calling ends up suffering, and something like that happens, and that, I mean, a lot to that. I mean, again, failure near the goal line in the red zone. and then you get thrown for a loss. Then you have to throw the ball on third/fourth down.
Yeah, I think we're down at the 11 on 3rd and goal. Yeah, and let's give credit to Ohio State defense. The fact that there were 2 pass interference penalties, I believe, or one was a hold, one was pass interference, and gave us 2 consecutive 1st and goals before all that even took place. I mean, give credit to Ohio State defense for the goal line defense for continuing to play through all that. They could have easily just given us a touchdown, and we would have been tied. You know,
and the thing is, it takes a great play, all right, a great individual effort, and luck. In any game, luck is an incredible factor. If a ball hits the side of the goal post and ricochets in, it's good. If it ricochets out, it's no good. Luck plays a part. And when you strip sack somebody, the ball hits the ground and bounces literally right into your arms. And I've seen bounces before where you go, wow, you couldn't recreate a play like that in 10,000 tries.
Moohead, not to interrupt you, but it felt like a movie, like The Longest Yard, or like the one. Remember the Titans Part 2 with Denzel? It felt like it was slow motion. He was running that ball. It felt like an eternity. Like you knew he was going to score. You knew he was going to run it back. It felt like it was still motion, and it just like, I don't know. It was like a perfect ending to, if you're a Buckeyes fan, to watch that. It was like a fairy tale ending. Like, what a way to put the icing on the cake. Like one of your top defenders just gets the strip sack, gets the ball, and just runs it back.
It was the Chariots of Fire ending.
Yeah.
Not
it's
a
like
dry
Rudy,
eye in the house.
Y'all should have put him on top like Rudy Whittaker.
Yeah,
Rudy, carried him off the field.
Yeah.
Even though Joe Montana said that story was made up.
A great play would have been a sack, but that goes beyond the pale. But again,
it's like he ran so slow, but it was so like amazing. It was like breathtaking. Even though I'm the fan of the opposite team that it happened to, it felt like a movie. I was watching a movie almost.
Yeah. But that's when sports is at its best. When you're getting the final countdown by Al Michaels in the hockey game in 1980, and you're realizing at the moment that he's realizing, you can't call it too early, because the Russians have it in the zone and they're going to fire anything they can, and something could ricochet in and change the outcome of the game. You can't say anything, but at the end you have that. I expected, it's like, do you believe in miracles? Yes. And then you have like the orchestral swell, but it had everything. Who was the goalie who was roaming in the ice looking for his father in the stands? What was that kid's name? The guy who gets remembered was Eruzione, because he was the captain of the team.
Oh man, that name doesn't foster.
Jim Craig, I think, was his name. Yeah, and he was walking with a jersey draped, something draped over his jersey, and he was looking in the crowd for his father, and it was like, holy shit, this is a movie. Unreal. So, thank you. Everybody has my back here. That's the thing that I like about this place.
Nah, but Moo, give credit, Ohio State. Y'all got an amazing squad, man. And what do you think your chances are against Notre Dame? What do you like about Notre Dame? I mean, do you think you think it's going to be an even fight? Do you think it's going to be a blowout? What do you expect to see in this game?
Well, I mean, passion from Notre Dame because of the program and the fact that they've been literally out of sight for so long. This is going to be an emotional thing. The question is, their offensive line is laced with injuries, and it's going to be very difficult for them to establish themselves against the Buckeyes. If they can't control the ball possession, is going to be very difficult. And the thing with Ohio State, unless the head coach again forgets that he can throw a forward pass and throw the ball deep and try to strike quickly, is that you saw how quickly they can strike. And Notre Dame can't afford to fall behind early in the game, or else it's going to be done. It's that offensive line that concerns me about Notre Dame. Not that I'm concerned because I want Notre Dame to win, but I mean, if I were a Notre Dame fan, I would say, we're not at full strength up there, and we're going to have to run some patterns that are going to be quick timing patterns, because we don't want our quarterback back there in the pocket for any length of time, because they'll be swarmed, and that's how turnovers happen, fumbles, strip sacks. So, I think it'll be a very emotional game for Notre Dame, but the thing that you can't quantify when you're dealing with 18, 19, 20-year-old kids is, how in the hell did Ohio State lose to Michigan? That's the thing that's going to forever, make people say, this is the national championship team and they couldn't beat Michigan. And it's like, how? Why was that? And then you looked at the way the play calls were done and the strategy, and it was like Ryan Day's paw prints all over it. So you're always going to wonder a little bit about, do they have another shit performance like that in them? But under normal circumstances, this game should not be close. Ohio State should win this game by an excess of 15 points.
Wow. Okay.
That's my feeling.
Wow. Okay. Well, I mean, to be fair,
you can't score a lot of points against the Buckeyes. Yeah, I mean, you'd have to have a hell of a defense at Notre Dame to be able to put a halt to the Ohio State offense, and without your team having a full strength offensive line. It's going to be tough for them.
Yeah, but hey, congratulations to any Ohio State fan that's watching, including you, Moohead, on beating us, man. That was one hell of a game.
And Rick asked the question, and it's the same thing. When you're dealing with 18, 19, 20-year-old kids, and Notre Dame, that was really the early season, stick their face in mud kind of thing. It's like, boy, that program has fallen on hard times if they can't beat, what is it, the Huskies of Northern Illinois? Is that they were an MAC, a MAC school when I was in college. They're horrible. And they were just on the schedule just for a payday, and they beat Notre Dame this year. So you ask yourself the same thing as with Michigan. You never know with young kids. Anything can happen. So,
no question. Is there any Ohio State players that declare for the NFL draft? I don't know what year Howard.
Not that I'm aware of. But
I
wouldn't be the one to ask.
Well, what year is Sawyer in?
I think he's done. He's finished. This is the way he's wrapping up his career. He's a fan favorite.
Okay, so this is his senior year, right?
That's my understanding.
Oh, and then what about Howard? Is he a senior? I think so. I don't know. Maybe the comment is no. I don't mean to put you on the spot. I'm just asking.
No, he waited his turn. Now, whether he is a junior or senior, I'm not certain, but it would be one or the other. But I don't see him, if he's not a senior, I don't see him going, into the pros. He's not.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
So again, but he's got such speed on the outside. He's got the running game. He's got
Howard is the senior. Howard is the senior. So Howard's going to go. Howard's going to be declared for NFL. Well, Sawyer, man, where do you project he'll go in the NFL? Do you think he'll be a top 5 pick in the NFL?
Well, when you come from Ohio State, you know that they draft their players from high school.
Very well, we know all about that.
Yep, and that position will be, Randy Gradishar glorified to go back decades. He'll go somewhere in the first round, and the other thing is the receivers that come out of Ohio State. My gosh, they're going to go high in the draft too.
We got 16 guys going in the draft, including Quinn Ewers, who did play for you guys, and we got Boyd, who's also our top receiver. He's also going to the NFL. So,
all right. Well, I'm finished here because my back is seizing up. Hey, but I'm a gamer.
Appreciate you for having me on.
No, I appreciate you helping out. And thanks, everybody, for tuning in to this edition of Moohead Radio. We'll be back again on Friday. We'll see how the Cavaliers bounce back this week. It's going to be a challenge. but we'll be up to the challenge and we stay behind our team, unlike so many Cleveland fans who just want to say nasty shit about their
Well,
team.
misery loves company. Same old Browns.
Yeah, I know. And you know something? It's the same old Jimmy Haslam. The players don't ask for this. And that
No,
they're the ones taking the shit while this man sitting in his ivory tower. It makes me sick. It really does.
So true.
Thanks
So
a lot,
true,
everybody, for tuning in. We will see you Friday. Hasta la
Take care.
vista, Pastor Heads. Good night.
Moo.
Moo.